Hello, fam.
Welcome back, saucers. Ooh, we got a good... If you're on YouTube, Molly's swimming to shore. She's literally...
Yeah, if you didn't know what that looked like, you're about to.
We have such a good episode for you because we do this for you guys, okay?
Yes, this is all for you. And it's really for us and our mental health and to work through our own issues. So, but this week we have one of my good friends on, Jeffrey Utubor. So he is... I met him last year. Alyssa met him last year at one of my shows. Mm-hmm. And first of all, just as a person, he's like the most genuine spirit. He is so kind, so sincere in everything he does. He's like such a people person. He makes everybody feel like you can trust him. Everybody feels happy around him, right? He's just like a light.
I mean, it makes sense to why he's so successful at what he does and why artists want to work with him.
Yeah. Exactly. So he is a music multi-hyphenate. He literally does everything. He used to be an artist in his own right. Still is. He's going to probably pop some stuff out later. I'm pressuring him into, but he does artist relations, artist development, and brand partnerships. And so he really is just like oftentimes the only real link between the business side and the artist side in situations. He's like everybody's. So everyone relies on him very heavily, and he has a tendency to put a million things on his plate. Every time I talk to him, he's like, you know me, just putting too much on my plate. And I'm like, okay. But the thing is, he makes it work seamlessly, and he handles it all, and he excels at everything he does. And so we wanted to have him on to really dig into this when it comes to creating a career for yourself that you might think doesn't exist out there. There's always a way to to blend all of your gifts and your passions into one. I promise you there's a way, and he really is going to explain it, whether you're in music or not. And also just to discuss the identity crisis one goes through when you decide to change lanes, and that it's okay, and to still listen to your gut when it's time to shift your reality. Mm-hmm. So yeah, with that, let's welcome Jeffrey.
Yay! We're so excited to have you, Jeffrey.
Yes, welcome, Jeffrey. I cannot wait to get into this with you because just
this is months coming as well. As soon as I met you for the first time at Molly's show, which was amazing.
That was a fun night.
We vibed so well, and I was like, oh, we got to get him on the pod.
Yeah, and I actually met Jeffrey, we met on set in August, this past August, but it feels like I've known you multiple years, but we're both on set. Why were you there again? You showed up because you said you would.
I was there so I don't get fined. No, I mean, I was there. It was for a company I work with, and we had an artist there that had a shoot. And I was there as the acting talent partnerships manager there. I for that artist in particular, I was able to lock in a beauty brand deal for her.
That's right.
Initiate that, and then years prior and then leading up to that, since the product was launched, there's been a lot of great strides there. And so whenever there's anything that's on site within my range of proximity, I go for support. So yeah, no, it's great to be here. I mean, it's also dope.
I'm so glad.
And I feel like what's cool is there's always a community that you realize when you just know cool creatives. So it's just I feel like we all kind of are in the same range of that climate of what we're trying to.
Yeah. And it's when you meet, because I could tell Alyssa, you and Jeffrey, when you guys were at my show, you guys hit it off and we're just talking, conversation was easy. And that's how it was on set when I met you, Jeffrey, because we were both just sitting there. I was assisting the photographer, and we just started talking oh, you're in music? Oh, you do music? Oh, and then met up for drinks and food the next week, and then fast friends. But so you, ran over your title, music multi-hyphenate, artist relations, artist development, and brand partnerships. It's just, I know you do a million things and wear a million hats. And so you're one of the most versatile creatives that I know. So real quick, before we jump into your story, can you tell us a little bit to give listeners a little bit of an idea of what that looks like day to day, kind of what specifically those things mean?
Yeah. I mean, I feel, it's funny when I was first called that title on music, multi-hyphenate, that came from around that was like 5 years ago when I was interviewing, like I was touring, which I could speak on shortly, but I was touring a bit in a room. And then I want to get off the road and do something a little bit more full time. So I was like, I was trying to explore the depths of, randomly was trying to explore the depths of being a booking agent. And when I had an interview with one agency, that was what they called me. When I explained everything that I do, they were like, "Oh, like it sounds like this is what you are." And I was so taken back. I was like, oh, interesting.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, yeah. Like, so I had to actually Google it. I was like, "What the hell is this?" So, but like speaking to like where that stands with me now is like, I think that's something that I like to identify a lot of people, not just myself, as because I think it's like one of those things in today's climate that you can be stuck doing one thing, but I feel like it's more fruitful to do more than one thing. And kind of like, so yeah, I mean, I dive into the roles of that being like artist relations, not just full time, but even just in general. Like when I a lot of the people I end up like crossing paths with, like creatives or artists in some form.
Yeah.
That then I dive into like I kind of consult for artist development on the artist development side. I find myself sharing the game, if not that, and then and partnership side of things. That's something that I've like taken more like contract work, and then production. That's been something I've kind of been born and raised with, from working in radio to touring to freelancing and so forth. Even I want to say in almost every role I played, like there's always been a little taste of event production there. So, which I find that a lot of like people in the industry are very attracted to that skill set, because producing an event, or just producing an event in general, or working on an event in some form is not easy. But everything in, that's kind of what I do.
I like that. I mean, especially in creative fields, more so, I think, than in, people who are like doctors, or if you're a lawyer or you're a teacher, it's very specialized and specific. But oftentimes when we meet creatives, like even if like I'm a musician, but when I met you on set, I was doing photography stuff, and like Alyssa, you're an actress and a writer, and like Jeffrey, you're doing, it's like most of the time people who have a creative career also have other passions that are creative as well. So it's like a lot of crossover, and then it ends up being like, oh yeah, I'm doing graphic design and photography, and I sing and art direction, and it's just like, what? But it's becoming more of a thing to call yourself that, like a multi-hyphenate.
I think we're going to come to that point soon that I feel like everyone might call themselves that in some form.
Yeah, it really is. I was just talking to another actor on set, and they were having a lot of big meetings with executives from Disney and stuff like that. And she was learning from these meetings with like big execs that they want multi-hyphenate actors. Like, so I think it is what is the trend right now, is finding these massive creative brains, because really, like you said, it's a very easy transition to want to create and want to harness and support other creative minds like you do as well. It's a gift.
Yeah, that's what
on the head there for sure.
And so now going into your story, because you every time I talk to you, and we will like go and have like drinks or grab food or something for like many times. And every time I talk to you, I learn about another life that you had, like another past life. And so I know that you came to music from the artist side yourself. And then, so can you tell us a little bit about that journey for you, from like why you made the transition into more of the business side? And was that kind of like how we call an SOS moment for you, or how did that feel?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I grew up always like kind of like songwriting, and that was always my passion. Like, from being a kid, and then like locally in my hometown, like I was making music. I was kind of making some. So I honestly, like I'll give myself credit. I was making some fun strides there in like my late teenage, early 20s. Not to date myself. Like I was like recorded professionally probably for the first time when I was like 16. But then I even, like, if my cousins was here right now, they would talk about the one time I even tried to sign up for like a random contest, like when I was recording when I was 13, definitely was a passion of mine, and I mean, the music in its entirety is a passion of mine. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't say I really like close that door. But
Yeah.
I worked with some pretty great producers. I was definitely privileged to have done that. Had some pretty fun shows I was able to do locally, and then can't say like I did a national tour, but a cool moment I had was I was able to do like a small like local artist showcase at South by Southwest in Austin
Oh, wow.
um, years ago. So that was fun. But even like from the shows I was doing, it wasn't like I definitely did my fair share of like college shows, basement shows, and so forth. But then I did like some small like clubs type venues,
Yeah.
performing for I did some stuff for like Asher Roth and this is like during the blog era. So I was very like happy to have been a part of that while it was like music I was dropping was on websites like datpiff.com and I was
Yeah.
getting, I was getting some blog love there and then opening up for artists, even like I opened up like Kid Ink when he was like in that like blog kind of situation.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was fun.
Mm-hmm.
But admittedly, I think like, I focus heavily on the artistry side, but then I also had like my own like kind of music group that I oriented around myself to kind of like be that like support, that level of support that I would have needed. But at the same time, I didn't have a manager, so I was
Yeah.
managing a group and managing myself, and then kind of also managing an artist that was in the group as well. Just to just kind of speak on that correctly, but like it came to a point that I was very business minded, and that was the feedback I was being given from a lot of my peers and a lot of even like the musical like pioneers that I would look up to that I was able to like be like privileged to be in a studio with. I used to like York and all that stuff. Then I was also offered a few like deals, but like admittedly, like I didn't know what the hell was going on with the deals I was offered. Like I had A&Rs try to show me, try to shop the record, and I'm like, wait, what is this? Like, what is all this stuff?
Right.
So I had to take a back seat. I was like, because at the same time I was taking like music business courses, trying to really understand like what this is, and I was thriving in the music business course I took, and then I almost went to Berklee College of Music. I was almost trying to do that.
Wow.
I almost went there too.
Yeah, I was it's expensive as hell there. So
I know.
that's why I didn't go. I was like, I was like 40 grand a year. I was like, that's
I know.
wild. So, like, they're trying to sell me on like, yeah, we'll give you a MacBook. I was like, well, 40 grand a year? The 40 is a MacBook, 40 grand?
Give me a scholarship. I can buy my own damn MacBook.
Yeah, I'm down with my Windows XP. Like if you, if you can 40, so it came to a point that I was like, all right, I'm getting good feedback on like how business savvy I am. I'm having deals that I don't understand. There's processes I don't understand. So I just took a back seat. I was like, I need to like actually like really get like boots on the ground in the music business. So I remember locally, I was telling myself, I'm like, if I had to start anywhere, where would it be? And I was like, maybe radio. I felt like radio was touching everything. And
also, you have like everybody knows by now because they're listening, the most amazing speaking voice.
I was
like you need to be doing voiceovers and radio. Like, oh my God, podcast voiceovers. Like you could.
That. I've been giving that feedback a few times. So it's funny because even in radio, when I did work in radio, they were really trying to get me towards that path of being like, hey, we need you on the air.
Yeah.
When I left Boston, moved to LA, like there was definitely a few upset folks because they were like, damn, we had some plans for you. And I was like, well, but radio was the first step I took. It's so random how I got in. I started off as an intern. I was in college still, and I just was, I love, I was on Twitter, saw the radio followers tweeting, being like, "Hey, we're looking for interns, so let me shoot my shot." Literally, just like tweeted at the radio station and sent me a link to. The rest was kind of history. As an intern, I mean, busting my ass and anything I do is like second nature. So, yeah, that's what I did. I just made sure I was on my FIFO. I was like the first one in, but I was like the last one out. I was like, so first one in, first one out. And for those who grocery shop. But I was like the first one in, last one out, learning, growing, doing all that stuff there. Did my thing in radio to be, to like sum it up, did as much as I could in radio, living in Boston. Still was taking a stab at music. Like I did some cool things from there. Like I had like a small like sponsorship from like actually, well, I almost forgot that I did that, but I had a sponsorship from a nonprofit organization that was centered around trying to basically like keep guns from the youth. Yeah, so actually, so shout out to No.160. They took they were we campaigned something really crazy there.
Wow.
But because Massachusetts, I mean, we see it's gotten worse in the world, but Massachusetts at that time was really going through it with
Yeah.
like gang violence. So I was campaigning, like working on some, it started off as like a jingle idea, but then it was more of like working on the actual like records, and then
Yeah.
like came about perform for like the city. Like I did something for the mayor. There's some
Wow.
piece basketball thing. Like yeah, I think I was cleaning through some old paperwork, and I remember like there was like he like wrote me a certificate. I forgot what it was, like some sort of thing. I did that. I did something in my hometown. I did like a matinee event in my hometown. I had like my own show there. And so I kind of like was like actively, that was probably one of the last things I was doing. I was campaigning that. And then I did like a one small show in like New Hampshire for a benefit, opening up for like this old school R&B group, Full Force. I'm not sure if, the young kids that listen here might know who they are, but if you watch House Party, you would know. But, yeah, I did that, and then then I think I took a real backseat in the music, because I think when I did that again, it was like kind of like triggering, and not in a bad sense, of like, yo, like what am I doing there? Like, you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
need, like if this is something I really want to do, I want to like legitimize it, and so I was like, let me just get back on track, and then funny enough, what found me wanting to move to LA was like the music initially. Like actually, like a lot of people, I would tell people like, yeah, I moved to LA, like, for opportunity. That's like, of course, like who, like, who doesn't
Right.
move? But primarily the opportunity I was trying to chase was music. Like I
As an
visited LA.
artist.
Yeah, as an artist. Yeah, I was like visiting. My first time visiting LA was around like 7 years ago. Around this time, and I was like, I hit the ground running. I remember first place I visited Paramount Recording Studios, shooting shit with them, letting them know like what I was about, like what I was trying to
Damn.
do. All the producers, like every producer I met, engineers I met, some engineers I met, like I'm still like really tight with right now. Yeah, and then that following fall, I just was like, okay, wait, I just visited LA like 8 months ago. Why am I not there yet? So I just honestly just packed everything in my car and just drove. Like
Wow.
drove to LA, and it took me about like three and a half, 4 days. Didn't have anything. I can't say I really had a plan. I can't really say I had things lined up. So I kind of started like all over. I was back in the radio side of things, and then was able to get, I was able to get back in with radio. And then that was kind of a little bit of like a short lived run, like on and off. Then, network found my way into the touring space, which that was a whole different beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of toured nonstop. So like my first tour was with New Kids on the Block, Boyz II Men, Paul Abdul. That was a fun one.
Wow.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
little there. That was damn. That was like actually about like 6 years ago. And and then I just like told myself like I didn't want to be genre specific, because working in radio wasn't genre specific. I was working in like I worked at iHeartMedia, so that
Oh,
like
okay.
anyone knows of them, I mean like that's all of radio. So I was doing like pop side, top 40s. Sometimes when I was in Boston, I had to work country,
Oh.
EDM. Yeah, I was everywhere. I can't say I work country, but you definitely not gonna,
Like, I don't believe it.
not gonna see me as stagecoach anytime soon. It was cool. Like, I mean, it definitely taught me to be more versatile and like learn about the bigger world around me. So with touring, I said yes to everything.
Yeah.
It definitely burned my energy, but I said yes to damn near everything. Like I did
Yeah.
from that tour that I mentioned earlier to like Foreigner, then from
Wow.
Foreigner, the Dancing with the Stars Broadway tour, then I did Kesha and Macklemore, then I did Childish Gambino, which that was my favorite one.
That's crazy.
That's so
I
cool.
did a Latin tour with Mana, like definitely one of the biggest acts of all time, and that was a cool culture shock for me. And then I got off the road, started being a little bit more full time. And then COVID, we did what it did. Definitely made all of us kind of quarantine and reflect.
Yeah.
But I in the reflection part, and then that's when I started picking into like stuff that I knew I wanted to do, but didn't really have the time to get into it. So I was like, okay, brand partnerships, like that's something I was interested in. So let me shoot my shot there. Did that. That's kind of where I'm at like now with some things. And then I just always learned that there was a gap between the way artists and businesses like kind of come together.
Yeah.
So I kind of like formed, like, so at that point, like, created my own LLC and then started like consulting for like that. And which is still kind of what I do, not too much.
Yeah.
But I do like, I do that like on my off hours whenever I have those.
right? Which you don't, I feel like you don't have. But also, that's like such a missing link. It's such a wide open lane, that gap between, like you said, the way that the business is done and the way the artists approach it.
Yeah.
You know, they try to put like, you know, a label puts their quote unquote middleman in, or a manager has to act as a middleman, but it's not. You're in such a unique position coming from an artist side. Like, you were an artist, you are an artist, and you have that perspective, and you also have extremely developed interpersonal skills. Like, you're very good with people. You're very personable. You come across genuine instantly, and just like people feel like they can trust you right away, which is really hard as artists for us to find, and you know, because you're one too. So it's just like you're kind of, I feel like part of the reason you're so overloaded is because there's not a lot of people approaching, like there's other people doing similar things, but not from the same way you're approaching it. And so that makes you such a hot commodity in the industry, because artists are like, no, we need him. Like, if his name's not attached, we're not going to do it. And then I know you have a lot of artists like asking you to manage them even, and just like big artists that are like, hey, dude, you be my manager. Like, some of my favorite artists that I'm like, will you be my manager? Like, but it's just like,
I'm not even a singer. Be my manager.
Yeah, for real. Can you manage anything at all? Probably.
I've actually, like, I've joked about it, but I don't really joke about it as much. I always tell myself that I would like transition like film and so forth.
Jeffrey.
I told myself that. I would do that before I hit the next decade. I got a bit of time. So before I hit 40, I told myself, like, I want to at least have some sort of a stake in like film.
Yeah.
I want to say my sister there. My sister's into that. She does.
Oh yeah, and it's voiceover too, your sister, right?
Yeah,
we were talking about that. Yeah.
She's very, very low key, like, to it. I don't fully know what she does. I have to but when I find out what she does, I'm always like, are you serious? Like, there'll be like big time like movies and shows that she's a part of that.
Yeah.
I think that's what I love most about that side of the industry, is like things can be super discreet there. And I like to be discreet. Like, the music industry, it's kind of a little bit harder to be discreet, because like the way to thrive is to not really be so discreet in a way. Like,
yeah.
But
no, it's true, especially like as an artist, you can't really, like, I mean, I don't know. It's like you can be a songwriter and no one knows who you are, but but a lot of times there's like little ways, but you can't really.
The artist, you literally have to even tell people what type of water you're drinking. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's wild. You can't, like, they have to know you're drinking spring water. Like, you can't even say reverse osmosis. It's wild as fuck.
Well, I want to ask, because I want to piggyback, because you were talking about like when you were actively working as an artist and a musician, and you were younger, and you were hearing all these people talk about how, like, oh wait, you belong in the business side, and then you started to tackle that side of you. Was there a difficulty internally when you're wrestling with that kind of transition into the business side? Did you feel like you were abandoning that side of you? Did you feel like you had to choose, or is that still something that you think about?
Yeah, there's always, I feel like you can always think about the what if and the what can be. If I need to like basically think about the past, I do think about like, what if I just didn't pay attention and like still like, did the artist side. I'm not mad at my decisions currently, because I think like in that, I feel like, I'm able to have a good, good roof on my head and steady income to weather like multiple storms. Could I have done that as an artist, like just fully like a full-time artist? Perhaps. But then I think what's cool is like fast forwarding in today's climate, every artist is like, every creative is not only wants to boss up in that sense, but every creative has bossed up in that sense, where it's like, they do hone in on their art, but they, like kind of what we like led the conversation with earlier, is like the multi-hyphenate like mentality. It's like,
you have to, if you want, because
it's like, and maybe it can be because of stability, but at the same time, I think it's also just about like making life fruitful. It's like, if I was just doing my artistry stuff, then I think it would have felt like work and it wouldn't be fun. What I find the joy in is that there are things that I do for work that are not fun.
Yeah.
But I tell myself, should I get back in the booth or whatever it is and do that? I think what would be cool is like, I get to approach that with a whole different like mentality, because I know that I've seen both sides. went through multiple lanes of it. So yeah, I mean, it definitely was a battle whenever, because it wasn't like anyone forced me to take the business route. It was more so like the feedback was just immaculate there. Everybody,
Yeah.
like, this decision making I was coming up with, and just like my structure, like how I brought structure, like I was like very rare. And I say this in respect to a lot of the artists I do know, and a lot of artists I do consult with, or even just artists I work with, period. Like, very rare that you see artists like that can scale their workflow accordingly to like even project manage like their
Yeah.
stuff. And I applaud those artists that can't, because they're so good at their music that I totally get where that's a strong focus. But I also applaud the artists that do. Like, I see myself in a lot of artists that I'm around, because they're always just like they're just doing so much, like they're just doing way too much, and like
Yeah.
gotta like tell them that it's not fair for me to say like, yo, you're doing the most, like relax. Like,
Yeah.
I can't say, how can I say that? You know,
Right.
when
Right.
I'm in those shoes. So what I do instead is I just align. I align immediately. I'm just, hey, like, I hear you. Like, you know, I mean, if you're in the studio right now and you couldn't get deliverables to me that I needed, like, it's cool, because I probably would have been the same. Like, you know,
Yeah.
so I mean, I'm grateful for what I did, because it helps me understand this creative realm a lot better. And
Yeah.
I can be in that creative space and like just work the room. I know how to, like, you know, I'm not a suit. You know, like I think when artists talk to me, they know that I'm not a suit. Like, I don't mind wearing a suit, but I'm
Yeah.
not.
Right.
You know, because I think that's the disconnect we're still seeing. So I'm happy with my decision, because it helped me not be on the other side of the spectrum, because we're still seeing a lot of industry heads, as we want to call them, that are in the business to want to get embedded with artists and work with artists and blah, 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 but they just don't like take the time to properly align with an artist.
Yeah.
So
And
you know,
they can't actually relate.
yeah, in creatives, period. Like, you know what I mean? And when I say artists, I'm not just saying music. I'm saying like artists, period. Like, you know, music, film, sports, you know, whatever it is. It's like there's going to be a lot of these executives that love the idea of talking to you, but they're not actually like, you know, they're not willing to hear you out. They're not willing to actually like
Yeah.
see you through. So it's like, I'm grateful I'm not that. So I think it's my pathway. It's my decision making that led me here. And like, yeah, I mean, and it's crazy because, like, yeah, to something that, you know, details brought up earlier, I always get asked by artists to be in these situations like more in depth, or like to manage them, or continue, you know, whatever it is. But it's like, I find joy in that, although it can be overwhelming, because it's more than asked out of me like a week, if not a month.
Yeah.
But the beauty of that is that, okay, like, cool, like I've yet again got myself in position to have someone comfortable enough to vulnerably speak on their art with me. I think even without me needing to say it, they can tell that there's like that connection of me having been an artist too. Like, you know, like it's not like an iron sharpens iron kind of situation. That's kind of how I see it. I feel
You're
like
like the Jerry Maguire. You're like Jerry Maguire.
I'll take it. Hell yeah. I'm down to do that. No, but I feel like, you know, it's just something that's lacking in today's climate of like, you know, the business savvy folks, and then those who are truly the creatives. And it's like, not saying that they shouldn't, you know, be in the same room. I want them to be in the same room. I want them to understand each other a lot better.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of effort to get there. But and that's why I also like am always like kind of helping those on the business side, like try to like better understand like artists. And I think that's why the most important title I claim of all I do is artist relations, because like that's like the bridge. It's like artists can be very unhappy very quick, and rightfully so. And I'm playing my part, because artists do need some of these business models, platforms. Artists, you know, there's a need for that for to strike gold.
Yeah.
And I mean, anybody knows when I'm in the mix, I always say where I prioritize. Like, I'm pro artist. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
another company, another client could always rock with me, but that one artist, like, or that batch of 10, 20, 1,000 artists, like, it's different. You can't replace like what they are.
Yeah. How do you get that across? Because there's so many people that love to talk about the divas in the industry, that like they want all this, and this to actually put on a performance that's gonna that's gonna rock. Like, how can you communicate when people aren't as pro artist as you? That doesn't speak the language that they speak. 'Cause I feel like there's such a miscommunication sometimes, a misinterpretation of what an artist needs.
Yeah.
I use Google Translate.
ChatGPT.
You know, you got a level set, I think, early on. And what I do best is one, I mean, I feel like just reading humans is like something that you just gotta just like know, right? I mean, like there definitely are I've dealt with some divas, like divas, and I'll admit some of the divas I've dealt with, I never want to see again, and I've made it so that I've never seen them again, and I'm very happy. But when I was in the mix, well, I mean, I think just level setting on those boundaries, like because every human has boundaries. So it's like, so even if they're extreme, I've been in situations where when an artist is walking down the dressing room, everyone has to like turn around and look at the wall.
Yeah,
it is what it is. I mean, like that. I mean, is that a little too submissive?
You can't make eye contact with this person. Like it's on their rider. Yeah.
But then, you know, in some situations where when you probe and find out why you can't make eye contact, like there's some people have a little bit some issues that you have to just kind of like align with and just like accept for what it is. But yeah, but that's, I mean, but to your point, where I do my best to like really like communicate with them is like sometimes the best communication might be no communication. So like communicate with the party that like is right near them. So like I find out who the point person is, you know what I mean? Like who's their like accountability partner.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody kind of has an accountability figure in life that they lean on. So it's kind of like it's like my own little like cheat code. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I don't really like if I don't need to talk to the artist in that case, I won't talk to the artist. I'll find the manager, I'll find their day-to-day, their executive assistant, whatever it is. I'll find whatever that title is. I'll talk to their pet if I have to. Like I don't like, you know what I mean? You want to find like where their like safety net is and in what form is that person and communicate everything. And honestly, if need be, over communicate. Like I always over communicate. So it's like I could be super annoying for that, but I do it so that the accountability is being shared across all parties. And I do it so that nothing gets missed. No detail gets missed.
Yeah. Keeping your side of the street cleaned.
I just want to make sure that everything is on the table. Like that's just why I'm a big believer in transparency anyways. So so I found that a lot of artists appreciate that of me, especially the divas. And I'm okay with it. Like, you know what I mean? And I think I'm grateful to not have to be like in today's climate, I'm not really dealing with too much divas, but there's a few of them. But what I also do too is I keep, it's almost like when you're in a text argument with somebody, you know what I mean? Not that I do that in my life, but I mean, but where I'm leading with that is like, just always have your receipts ready, have your proof of purchase, you know what I mean? Or like proof of content. So like, I've also learned with artists, especially the creatives is like out there, especially ones that are divas that always kind of want to second guess or question everything. Have like quantifiable data handy if you could, or have something quantifiable to show them, like why you were insistent and they go from point A to point B, you know, like, so in whatever form it is, feel free to just do it. It can be social media numbers that you can get a screenshot of followers or likes or impressions one day and then get it another. It can be anything like that. For me, it can be a little bit more detailed. Like I'll use like a program like Mixpanel if there's like something data related that I need to like show to an artist, be like, yo, this is exactly why I asked this shit of you. Like, please, you know, like, or money. Let them know how much money they're going to lose. The game. So, I had my fun there. I mean, and there's definitely a lot of battles I lose when it comes to the diva artists or like the difficult artists, and I'm cool with that.
You can only do so much.
At that point, that's what I tell myself. I can only do so much. My job was to deliver as to what was promised, and I did that. That's what I tell myself.
Yeah. There's so many things going through my head, like so many questions. But what would you say? What is your favorite? I mean, you kind of touched on it, but not necessarily in this context. What's your favorite aspect of working with artists?
Yeah, I feel like I did touch on it a bit, but like that. But to speak more on that is like, I feel like a lot of people would say that they like the big, like the wins. when they're part of an artist like milestone victory, right?
Yeah.
Like I could say that too, and it's true. Like I do love those moments, but I also love the moments where there's key learnings. I don't want to say a moment
Yeah.
where there's a loss. I just want to say there's a moment where there's a key learning. Just because I don't really believe in the idea of a perfect world.
Yeah.
Although I on the idea of a perfect world. So when I'm in the midst of a creative and if something didn't go as planned,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say we failed, but I'd like to say that we could fail forward.
Mm-hmm.
Those things where it's like, yeah, I just turn that situation to a key learning. I think that's what I get the most growth out of personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whether it was that fell on me or it was something that fell on someone else or whatever it was, like as long as I know that there was like some sort of like a key learning that I was able to explore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
And
that's
also to like witness that in an artist and see how that affects them in their career moving forward too. Like, oh, they actually absorbed, like if you're there for a moment like that and then you see it like internalized and then they learn to deal with the situation different. And then later on you see that growth. That's probably rewarding.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something I feel like. I mean, and I say that also like for myself too. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like celebrate a win. Like I'm always down to like continue learning from, not necessarily from a loss, like a lesson.
Right.
Like,
Right.
So
And your what you do is your passion. What we all do is our passion as artists. What are the biggest challenges to you when your career is your passion, do you think?
really good question. I mean, I want to say imposter syndrome as a start.
It's literally the first thing that comes to my mind.
Me
with that,
too. We always think about that.
It hits me often. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you get the Sunday scaries, and then you get go to the Monday madness. You're like, damn.
Seriously.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely the big. Like I'm so passionate about what I do that I'm like I would hate to suck at what I do. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would hate to like, inadvertently or directly be told I suck at what I do. So it's like that's what it comes down to. And then you can always blame it on different. Not even blame it. You can honestly place it on different like scopes of just like who you are or demographically where do you stand, like it can be the current climate, right? Like we're living in a really weird time right now where it's like just layoffs left and right. I mean just stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's my biggest challenge, and I can't say I have faced that. I'm not going to sit here and act like I face it daily, but I mean it does happen, and I think it's just human nature.
You can't predict it though, so that's why you have to like arm yourself with tools to get through it because you don't know when it's going to rear its head, right? Like it's just like, oh, today I'm feeling here it is again.
And it can just be. Sometimes I even tell myself, like like speaking on days of the week, like Fridays, right? Something to have like what somebody would call it the Friday funk. It's like you're speaking, you're trying to figure out like you approached it with like you approach it strong, hoping that you can like really like net some success for yourself throughout the week, right? And then Wednesday progress, but then Friday you don't even just look at the start of the week, you just look at like the entirety of your career sometimes, right? That I'm still in this shit. So it's like, so sometimes, I mean, I get myself out of that as much as I can. Yeah, it's just like, I think overall, like, yeah, circling it back, it's like, it's definitely imposter syndrome that always like really like kind of like gets in the way of, and then aside from that, yeah, I mean, I think it's just like that one detail I mentioned earlier. It's like, I'm big on like people, right? So it's like, I think like I'm passionate about this industry. I'm passionate about my career. I'm passionate about what I do. But then when I see other folks, because I'm a big believer of iron sharpening iron, and when I see other folks like kind of want to come in with like dull energy, you know what I mean? We don't need that kind of blade in this mix. It's like we kind of like you can need so. Or when I see people like just trying to like naturally be vindictive, like there's a lot of that.
There's a lot.
So, yeah, so it's like that's another thing that I'm like that makes it hard for me to like sometimes
and,
like
passive aggressive.
All that, yeah, the passive aggressive culture and everything. It's like I even try to tell myself like I will tell anybody like please humble me if that is me, like so it's just one of those things like yeah, it's like a few of those elements that not necessarily like an industry thing. It's like more of like a worldwide people thing.
Yeah.
That when it does affect like the industry that you're part of and very passionate about, it sucks. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those things that I'm not I deal with that often. Like I'm grateful because I know how to dissociate and detach fairly. But when it does happen, it does suck, you know, and it definitely makes me like sometimes like, you know, kind of maybe go back to the imposter syndrome and question why I'm here.
And it's
Or
like,
so.
you gotta have a support system around you, I guess, because it's like if a number of times that you and I've had conversations, and then you'll be, it's like we're talking about imposter syndrome, but you'll be describing something you're doing, and you're like, yeah, I don't, I'll like compliment you, be like, dang, that's like really, and you're like, yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know. And I'm like, yes, you do. Like you actually do, because you are being like sought out and poached and paid for and like requested at a high rate. So like you do know what you're doing, but I mean, we all feel that way. So hopefully like having a, reminding each other of that at all times. Like that's what Alyssa and I do for each other too. Cause it's just like, you need that. Cause it's so, you can't just live in your head forever. Cause you will go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's big facts there. No,
Yeah.
like
How
I
do
think
you,
that's something that
no, I was going to say, like, how do you keep it exciting for yourself, even with all these challenges? Like, how do you keep it spicy? How do you keep it going so it doesn't feel like a chore? So it doesn't feel like
Work,
you're
like so you're
jumping
fulfilled.
the shark. Yeah, fulfill. You're not jumping the shark of your own career, essentially.
try to. I think what I do. I think honestly, like the reason why I think that also speaks to why like I do everything that I do. I try to diversify so much of like, I have in my career.
Yeah.
I go bored and like, you know, so to your point, like keeping it exciting, like keep myself feeling like empowered every day. Like I always try to like, so granted, like, yes, I have a whole full-time role in artist relations, right? So I don't need to do all the other stuff I do, but I do it. Yeah, 'cause I just feel like ultimately one complements the other, and it all just speaks to the big picture of like what I'm like, of why I'm here, you know, because this whole industry is built off of multiple facets. So like, you know, one day, yes, artist relations, the next day, of course, brand partnerships, the next day, event production. It's like, and I think where I find my joy in is like knowing that I can speak to all that, you know, like knowing I can, but I can, you know, so it's like, and it's something I always encourage everybody if they can find the time. You know, it's not easy, of course, balancing everything that one could balance as and wear multiple hats. But I think that's the best, and that's the best way to find your career exciting. Know that knowing that it's not just one lane in your career, knowing that there's not just one avenue in your career, there's multiple different avenues. You know, I feel like most people that see that do get stuck, it's because they're just doing that one thing, that one part of it.
So you think so? Don't stay in your lane. Go to another lane. Try another lane.
I mean, it's funny because I feel like, you know, whenever that term is out there, like staying in lane, I'm like, I get it in moments where someone needs to stay in the lane according to like
mind business.
Yeah, but to your career, no, don't stay in your lane. Go hard, do, you know, go city to city, go on a spiritual tour if need be. Like, learn something as much as you can. Like try different things, shadow other people, talk to other people. And like do things that you are scared of doing, right? Or don't think you can do or haven't done before, probably. Yeah. Learn, be okay with like not being good at something. I was always told, like, I forgot which one of my like former bosses told me this, but like, you have 6 months to be shitty at something. You know what I mean? When you start something new, that's kind of like where I tell myself. Whenever I'm like starting something new in life or thinking about trying something new, I tell myself ahead of time. This is kind of how I beat my imposter syndrome ahead of time. I tell myself I got something like, like, you know what I mean? So if it's like month 7, I'm like, all right, this is what's so I tell myself, anything else I've tried, like, got 6 months. So I typically don't trip over what I can't control. You know what I mean? Like, really good advice.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's a really good, like, because it always helps when something something is more tangible like that. Like to say, oh, don't have imposter syndrome is like, yeah, great. I don't want to, like, I would love to not. But if you're saying like, you have 6 months, you can be shitty at this for 6 months. It's like tangible. It makes sense. It's like, we can see it in front of us. So that's a lot easier to handle.
And even when it's like a new role within that lane that you're still in, then your 6 months is reset. You have 6 months to suck. Like, you know what I mean? Like that. Yeah. Like, those 6 months, like just wing it. Like do what you can. Suck, you suck. It's all good. You're gonna get past it anyways. Like That's how I look
Yeah.
at it. It's like, that was what I tell myself too. It's like, yeah, like a lot of people believe in or like fair failure, but I'm just more of like, just fail forward. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like fail, learn from it, and then just move on.
It's
Like,
way
Mhm.
worse not doing anything. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And like,
For
I
sure.
mean, yeah, I think if, and as that ties into like satisfaction of your career and so forth, it's like, that's where it's like, whether you're striving or not, it's more so find the satisfaction, find like a satisfaction piece there, and
Mhm.
like measure success differently at that point. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, at that point, it's like, success doesn't have to be the same way that it resonates with the person to the left or right of you. It can just, you can measure it completely different. And I'm still measuring
Yeah.
success different. I'm telling myself something different about what success should be like in my career pathway and so forth.
Right,
So
because it keeps changing. I think it's really hard also for for us to separate ourselves from whenever we decided to do what we're doing now, like whether, like my whole life I wanted to do music, and whenever you decided to do what you're doing, you had a certain idea of like what success would look like. But then to understand that as you're going through it and evolving, like everything changes. You have to allow for your goal post to move and also your perspective on it to move. Cause it's just like, I mean, the industry changes. Like if I had the same goalpost I had when I moved out to LA, I'd be like running in an empty field because there's no players over there anymore. Like it's not how it works anymore. So you just have to, like what you're saying, like be flexible with that within yourself. So you're not holding yourself to something that is not even
possible.
worth
Yeah.
chasing anymore.
sure, not seriously. And I think like more of that needs to be said.
Mm-hmm.
Like just, yeah, more of it needs to be said in the industry, because it's like, I feel
Yeah.
like measuring success, like we're measuring success off of like a black and white playbook, when
Yeah.
there's like kind of like, uh, color like attributes to the matter that we should be considering. And yeah, just putting
Yeah.
that on.
Yeah.
What I was going to ask, like, what are some dream projects to work on or dream artists that you'd like to work with?
I truly would love to work with like a Donald Glover. I say, yeah, I feel like he's inspired, and there's been like, reproduction of like a lot of crazy out there. But if not the direct Donald Glover,
Mm-hmm.
I would love to work with him in some form. I feel like that would be, and not in a sense of me like fanning out to him, but in a sense of, I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm incredibly challenged. Like I see myself being super stressed out to try to match that like immaculate mind of his.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm down. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just down.
I love him.
Down for
Did you see there was like an interview that was just going viral with him? He is like next to an orange tree. Did you see that interview?
Yes.
And he's talking
then-
about This Is America. And I didn't
Mhm.
know that was a Drake diss track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His mind is just so, and that was the tour I went on. I went on the This Is America tour in 28. Yeah, I mean, it's a dream project to just work. I mean, I would also, I mean, one of my biggest like inspirations is Jay-Z. I would love to
Yeah.
work on. I've worked on projects that his name was attached to, like, in the past. I suppose I've worked on like the Main American Music Festival, doing like the VIP attribute there under my project. And then, but I mean, like, I would love to work on something that's like super in depth, like with that. Yeah, I've came close to working on specific projects with like brands or artists that like I'm like a diehard fan of, and I'm kind of glad I didn't really like further and to some degree, because I guess like just through some exploration, like if I just didn't want to find out, I don't, there's something I don't want to explore that would make me like not be a fan anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's some projects I worked on, or some projects I played small. I guess like to be safe, there's some projects I played a small part in that I'm like, more if I could. Like, admittedly, like I did like PA work for Tyler the Creator's like Igor like album release 4 years ago. And I was telling myself, like, the opportunity to present itself, I'd like to work more creatively with someone like him, just because.
I was wondering if you'd be interested in working with him, because even saying like Donald Glover, because he's Tyler the Creator's wild. Yeah.
Crazy.
So I feel like any creative out there that would truly challenge my brain, like, would like have a hard time sleeping at night saying like, yo, I don't know what the hell this person needs me to do.
Yeah.
But like, those are the people I want to be in front of.
I feel like Anderson .Paak could be like that.
Oh yeah.
AP would be another one for sure. I mean, yeah, I'm super inspired by like, you know, artists like him, but then also like, I wouldn't mind like just kind of being in front of like the crazy business savvy folks, like the 50 Cents of the world. You know, I don't mind that either, but I think like primarily it's like, because I feel like something that I know I want to like get my hands more in depth with is like definitely the more like creative aspect. So, like, yeah, like the names you mentioned earlier, those are 100%. Yeah,
that's
like
amazing.
I'm big on that, but also I'm like down for some wild challenges too, just to add to my story. Like, give me in front of Lauryn Hill and try to get me to get her to show up to stage.
Show up on stage, yeah. just do what you're here to do. Just do that.
I'm down to get frustrated one more time.
Oh my god.
Like,
I feel like if anyone could, it'd probably be you. It'd probably be you that could make her.
I'll take your enthusiasm there.
Yeah, I do believe that.
You've been on stage early for anything.
No, there was one time I went to see her and she just straight up didn't show at all. And then Big Boy was there, so he like went up and did a set, but like she just didn't come at all. And then the other time I saw her was with Erykah Badu, and she was like on time. Erykah went first, and then she was like, yeah, she didn't make us wait, but I was like shocked. I was like, what the fuck?
She mentioned Big Boy. I'm gonna throw Andre 3000's name in there too. He's somebody I would love to like.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
he is like one of my favorite lyricists and artists of all time. Oh my god, I would die to work with him.
I would love to do something creatively with Andre 3000. That would be. I don't know what that would look like, but I feel like man's just he's a very unbothered man. But I just want the energy.
Well, I don't know if you believe in astrology, but apparently today's supposed to be like an insanely lucky day. So if you manifest today, like apparently it's like insanely.
Oh shit! I didn't know
it's
that.
Something that like if you're manifesting today, you have a good chance of bringing it to fruition. So you're welcome.
Okay. Well, we have 4 hours left, guys. Let's get it in.
I will make that sure.
Yeah.
We recorded this on the 11th, guys. That's why.
Yes. Oh yeah. Also, what advice would you give to people who are trying to find a way to like meld all of their seemingly different gifts into one career? Like, because I mean, the way that you've done it, they obviously connect, but they connect. It's easy to see how they connect because you do them all now. So, but you had to put that all together and be like, oh, I do this and a little of this and a little of this. And if people are recognizing these different gifts in themselves, but don't know that they can all be combined, I don't know. Do you have advice?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like while we're on the subject of like manifestation, I think it starts off with that. You have to manifest that it definitely, that this is a real thing. Like you have to kind of like be like whenever I'm like out when I'm meeting anyone these days, like I'm playing my part, like kind of, okay, so let me send those back. Best advice is give yourself a 30-second pitch if you can. So when you meet somebody, not to make every relationship transactional, actually do your best not to make any relationship transactional. That's like kind of a side advice over there, because I think transactional relationships aren't going to thrive anymore. I think they're going to become a thing of the past. Thank God. Develop your pitch and convince yourself first before you try to convince someone else. Like convince yourself that like a real thing for you. Like, so when I say like, yo, like I'm so-and-so, like I do X, Y, Z, but like, if I can't believe that like already, then why?
Right.
Like, it's going to, like, it's truly going to show in like the person I'm talking to, they're going to be like, oh, this person's, so I mean, it starts off with like conviction. Like I need to convince myself first that this is real for me. And then I guess like once you start getting your hands like the boots on the ground, like hands dirty with everything that you're trying to set out to do, project management. You need to basically like develop good project management skills. I'm not perfect at that. I'm still a work in progress.
You're really good at that though.
I'm trying.
Yeah, but abnormally.
I'm trying, but definitely like you gotta figure out your workflow. You gotta figure out how to streamline that, right? Like, I mean, like, because that too will show. If your situation's sloppy, It's going to show.
Yeah.
One of those things like, yeah, I mean, do I somehow deliver delayed responses or kind of fall short or let things fall through the cracks? All the time. But you need to, this isn't like really a tangible thing, but you need to be solutions oriented.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't really, rarely do you see me, I can come with a quick apology at most,
Mm-hmm.
but with a long-term solution. Like,
Yeah.
as to, so it's like, because again, if you're trying to take on more than one thing, you're going to fuck up. Like
Yeah.
it's inevitable, but you have to be okay with that. And you have to have your solution handy. Like, so that's,
Yeah.
and,
Have a
yeah,
parachute.
yeah, literally have multiple parachutes. You have to be like, you're going to jump off a lot of planes. Like, you know, you're going to, and that's just what it comes down to. So have your parachute ready. Have your facts ready. Like, just have everything ready. Like, if you can, like, and think like a little, like, even if it's 10 steps ahead, 2 steps ahead, 12 steps ahead, whatever it is, just think as much ahead as you can. What exactly it is you're trying to bring to the table. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, don't force value. You know what I mean? Like, just honestly, just don't force value, but just push yourself to like bring forth a valuable conversation, or at least a valuable, like, you know what I mean? Like, but don't force the value proposition. Like, let it speak for itself. You know, listen to the people that you're trying to work with. Like, listen diligently. Don't just listen and be like, yeah, like actually, like, listen. You know, like.
I used to have this drummer in one of my bands that would like, and I loved him. He was so sweet, and he was really good, but he just wouldn't listen at all. He'd be right in front of your face, but and making direct eye contact. And as you're speaking, he's going, yep. And he would repeat pieces of what you're saying and like everything.
And nothing would stick.
Nothing, like nothing would stick. And I'm like, how are you? You're just like, it made me think what you just said, Jeffrey, but it's like, listen diligently, because I'm like, you learned what the emotions look like. So while I'm talking to you, I feel like it's sinking in because you're nodding, you're repeating me, you're saying, yeah, at the right times. Like he would look so intently at you, and it wasn't like manipulative. I think he just was like
ADD.
I think honestly, I think it was ADD, but it was just like, but you can tell when you're talking to someone they're just listening to respond, or they're just listening because they want to be a yes man and validate everything you're saying, or they're not listening at all. And like, that will just stop all of your hopes to work with this person or have any kind of relationship. Like, just shoot it in the foot. Yeah.
You know, and that's those, honestly, those are like the worst people to want to at that point you can't build anything. So it's like, yeah, I think like those are like the most important things for me. I mean, like, even what I tell that's what I remind myself, you know, like remind myself of a lot of things, but of that, it's like many these.
What you said about having, like, when you mess up, a short apology and a long-term solution is like, that stuck with me. I think Alyssa and I talk about this a lot, but just women in general, we're too apologetic because we're conditioned that way a lot of the times. So it's just like something goes wrong and apologize. But then it's like 10 minutes later, like, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean, and it's like, we already went over this. Like, you don't have to apologize again, but you do, like you said, you do need to have a long-term solution and just like go straight into solve it mode. But sometimes you need to be reminded that, like, if you gave a short, however short, but like sincere apology and like acknowledge what you did and they heard you, you can move on from that. Like, and not have to keep bringing up that you messed up, because actually that does seep into, like, they could have heard you and that had that apology and they heard you say it and everything's fine. But the more you keep bringing up that you messed up again, it's going to like sink into their mind more and be like, Molly really, she really let the ball drop there. Yeah.
In general in life, they always remember when you fucked up. Like, that's just kind of like, so it's like, but they don't want to be stuck there. So let's move on. You know, that's how I look at it. Yeah. So whenever, like, any of my emails, I said, like, I'm quick to say, hey, apologies. But that's like, apologies, ... maybe no more than an additional 6 words.
Yeah.
Maybe honestly, it tends to be a lot shorter these days. And then the next paragraph is the actual solution, not just for like 10 minutes from now. It's like the solution for like 10 days from now.
Yeah.
You know,
Which honestly
Yeah,
means more, because it
Yeah.
means that your apology has so much more weight because you already figured out another way to fix it. So a boundary wasn't crossed or there wasn't another miscommunication, like whatever. It makes it way more meaningful.
yeah. I mean, I feel like, and you just got to remember that, like, right, we're all passionate about this industry, so it doesn't really feel like work for all of us. So when like mistakes happen, it can feel a little bit personal because again, it's like happening in part to something that you've pretty much put your whole life towards.
Yeah. Yeah.
That deep
Exactly.
into consideration. Yeah, I take it deep into consideration when it comes. And I'm not gonna sit here and like paint a narrative as if I mess up often. You know what I mean? Like it's just more so like in the situation when it does happen.
Yeah.
Because it
When you
does.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like that's the best workaround. You know what I mean? It's not to brush it off. Like you need, it has to be sincere. You need to actually own
Yeah.
it or didn't do, right? I mean, and but then come solutions oriented, like, and not even just in the sake of apology, just in the sake of everything. Like,
Yeah.
even if there's a big win today, come with a solution as to how you're going to amplify that win. If there's a big loss, a solution about how you guys are going to learn together from that, and like basically do your best to like de-risk that in the future.
Yeah.
It's just it's simple. It's simple to like sit down and at least like have that train of thought. It's not simple to accomplish what comes next, but
Right. Right.
that you're intentional on trying to accomplish something that comes next, then that's really how this vehicle keeps going. Yeah, because I mean, no one makes it to the top alone. You always have
Yeah.
to, yeah, absolutely no one's making it in this industry or any industry alone. You have
Yeah.
to.
Oh, amen. Yeah.
It's all about
No
partner,
way.
family, and tribe, and so forth. So
Yeah. Also know that you're working on something right now, because I want to give people a little something you're currently working on that people can keep an eye out for in the near future. So will you tell us a little bit about your project? One of the million projects you're working on right now?
yeah, one of the million I'm working on. So one cool thing that I picked up last year, I worked with a company called Blavity, and Blavity, I mean, great corporation overall. One of the subsidiaries is called Afrotech, which is a company that's basically based off of the principality of like investing in like Black founders in tech. So annually they throw an Afrotech conference. Last year they definitely amplified things there and put a strong music element behind it.
They did. Like, I had friends there that were just like, this is like a festival. Like, I need to come back next year just for the music acts. Like, the tech conference was great, but
yeah, it went
the
crazy. It was
music.
like a tech conference by day, all after parties by night, and then they concluded with like a music stage element. They had they had Zaytoven there doing like a beat producing like kind of seminar. They had Wale during like a day party. They had Boz closing it out as well. Then they had an after party with like Cisco and Drew Hill. Like so, yeah. So
Damn.
can't reveal the full schematics of what's happening this year, but yeah, I'm working. Since then. I came on board as like more of like a contractor. I still am a contractor, but strictly it was just working for that one conference last year. But then my contract has been extended as of this year, and I've been working diligently from like actually like building this from the ground up alongside the experiential team. So we will be announced of the lineup later this month. The conference itself has been announced already and it's live, but the music element has. I'm excited. We're taking a real we're putting forth a good narrative and taking a great approach that I feel like ties in like a really like prominent genre that we all are well aware of and how that by tech and vice versa. So yeah, I'm really excited about that.
I'm really excited. I want to go to that just for what you're putting together, honestly.
Yeah, seriously.
It's been a real fun project. I just know, I mean, from last year, I think with how the word got out last year, it's definitely became something that's like, there's room there for everybody. It's going to be like a really fun whole week. You see the city of Austin like never before, like 25,000 people in general, not just Black people, but like just people in general.
Yeah.
Just celebrating life. Like, yeah, it's different. I mean, it's definitely different. I've never seen Austin like this in my life. So I'm excited to contribute
That's
to what's
exciting.
so,
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. This episode was like all the little gems you were dropping were like a culmination of what we try to make this whole podcast about, like career fulfillment, like all of the SOS moments, how you get through certain things, mental health.
And also tangible advice that is really, really helpful, that can help people, not only just creatives in music, but in any form of how to kind of believe in yourself and try new things. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, personally, I love what you guys are doing. I mean, I feel like,
Thank you.
I know you guys were definitely not born same mom, same dad. I see the sister vibe that you guys hold on. You guys definitely hold each other down. So I love that. And I feel like, what you guys are doing is really important. I mean, a lot of podcasts out there, one can critique other podcasts in whatever form, but I think what's great is like when you have like messages that are like, that are as fulfilling as this, as what you guys are trying to deliver. Like, I don't think there's enough of that. You know what I mean? So what you guys have right now is really rare, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing. And yeah, just keep moving that needle.
Thank you so much.
So much.
I really appreciate you. I always feel so like uplifted after talking to him.
Yeah, he's great. We should have him back on when he can like start talking about the projects that are coming up, because there's a lot of stuff that's like just brewing, and I think having him back on to talk about that and like getting a deeper dive, because again, we say this all the time, but we mean it. Yeah, we could talk to him for a long, long time.
I know, and it's just not actually, like I didn't expect this, but I love that he gave such tangible advice too, like. Things that he tells, I mean, that 6 month, give yourself 6 months to be terrible at something is so helpful, because it's just like, first of all, you cannot expect to be an expert and be perfect at new things ever. But also just like, it's not, you also can't expect to be good in 1 month. You know what I mean? Like you have to find, you have to allow yourself time to grow into that, because even the people, or especially the people you admire who are excelling, they didn't just start that way either. But and we know this, but to give a number like that and be like, give yourself this much time can kind of take the pressure off.
Absolutely. Listen to your heart when it's calling to you.
Oh, that was good. That was some good finesse.
Jeffrey?
I think I'm gonna go the artist route.
I think I'm gonna like be a pop star.
Will you manage me?
But thank you again to Jeffrey for coming on. Amazing. You got to check out his stuff. What are his socials?
Oh,
Molly?
I didn't. Yes. So he's on Instagram at Jeffrey Ofure. So that's JEFFREYOFURE. You'll find him there, and definitely like tap into what he's doing. Like he said, he's kind of, he likes to be kind of under the radar, but you will find that he has his hands in a lot of really big things, and you would never know because he's so humble and just like keeps his head down and does his work. But definitely someone you want to watch.
Yep. So that's it for us today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this interview, enjoyed this episode. We love talking about this, if you can't tell. We want to quickly shout out Everytown. There's been a lot of shootings almost every day in the past few. It's like insane. So we want to shout out Everytown. Every day, 120 people in the United States are killed with guns. The Everytown for Gun Safety Support Fund is the education, research, and litigation arm of Everytown for Gun Safety, the largest gun violence prevention organization in the country. They build awareness about the complexities of gun violence in America so that every person, policy makers, volunteers, cultural influencers, business leaders, and more can learn about the issues and become part of the solution. So to donate and learn more, please visit everytownsupportfund.org.
Yes. And we are on IG and Twitter and YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe. Please rate and review. You know, everyone and their mom has a podcast, including us. And so if you leave reviews and rate, it helps us jump the queue a little bit so people can find us. So
and follow us on Instagram if you're not already, guys, at the SOS Pod, please, and SOS with Molly and Alyssa on YouTube, so you can see everyone's beautiful face talking to you.
And we are also on Patreon. So if you are a real one, you will know that it is worth giving either $3 a month, $7 a month, or $11 a month to help support us grow, help us bring. We just want to be able to continue to provide this and evolve as a show and grow and reach more people and build a community. So that definitely helps us do that. I'm Molly Cottrell.
I'm Melissa Rosano.
Here's to turning meltdowns
Into magic.